And let me just stop and say, this is why it's so powerful, because if you plug in all of your expenses and all of your paychecks and your income in here, you can do this for the entire year, and you can be in February looking down the road to October, and you can see in this right-hand column, in that G column, that, man, I get a little thin in October. I go down to $200 in my checking account, okay? And that's powerful, because you can look down the road and you can prepare for that, but you'll never be able to prepare if you don't have something like this.
Already it's a classic. If I drop any day, it's a classic. Any wave that I'm on, it's a classic. Hey, you heard that? Classic. If I drop any day, it's a classic. Any move that I make, it's a classic. Hey, you heard that? Classic.
Welcome everyone, my name is Nick Egler, and today I'm going to be showing you a very powerful tool when it comes to managing your personal finances, expenses, deposits, the whole 9 yards. This powerful tool was shown to me about a year ago, and I've just taken it and I've ran with it. By using a simple formula that can be inserted into Google Sheets, Apple Numbers, even Microsoft Excel, I believe by the end of this video, you will have a powerful tool in your hands to better manage your personal finances. Now, the question is, who is this budget for? Or who is this not for? Well, this budget is for those who have a salary or an hourly job. If you work a 100% commission-based job, or you have a side gig, and you don't really have a fixed form of income, this may not be for you. However, I want you to keep watching, because there are other aspects of your financial life this may apply to and can be very useful when talking about savings. So the next thing I want to preface is that I'm no financial expert. I have no licenses in finances. I'm not a professional financial advisor. And so I just want to let you know this is something that I have learned and that I was taught and that has transformed my personal finances in the past year. And I want to share it with you here today. I also want to preface that I will be using a program called Google Sheets. If you don't use this program, have never used this program before, or maybe you use something similar like Microsoft Excel or Apple Numbers, well, don't worry. This formula will still work in those other two programs, but personally, I would try Google Sheets at least when watching this video. I find it to be one of the easiest programs to work from, and you don't have to know everything about the program in order to do what I'm showing here today. So let's jump right in. Let's go over to my screen here. I've already got the calculator pulled up, and I've already got a blank sheet open in Google Sheets. Now, you can't access Google Sheets without having a Google account, so I would highly recommend creating one of those. Most of us do have a Google account because we have a Gmail, so if you have one of those, then you're all set. So once you open up Google Sheets, it will automatically pull up a blank sheet for you. Now, you may have seen this type of layout if you took typing classes in high school, and I want to review quickly how this type of program works. So I'm going to highlight real quick up top here, if you look on the screen, A through I, and it'll keep going through the alphabet, but everything on top there is going to be a column. Column A, column B. I'll be referencing that throughout the video. Everything on the left-hand side is a row, and it can go, I believe, to 1,000 rows or more, but I will also be referencing that in this video. Now, where the columns and the rows meet is going to be a cell. So for example, if I click here, that is cell A1 because it's in column A and it's in row 1. So I'll also be using that language in this video today. So in order to set our budget up, we are going to go into column A and row 1. And what we are going to type in there is date, okay? Now this column is going to serve as a reference to when something is coming out of our account or something is coming into our account. Then we're going to go to column B. It is going to be titled Payee. This is going to serve as a reference as to exactly what is coming out or going in. That could be rent or that could be our paycheck. That's what we'll be typing there. C is going to be comment. Now, comment isn't absolutely necessary. However, this is a column that will serve as a reference or a visual for you to add extra information that may not be available on that payee column there. For example, if you worked 20 hours instead of your regular 40, you may have got paid less. you may want to write in column did not work full 40 hours this week as a reference. Column D, again, not necessary, but absolutely helpful. We will type cleared. And this column will serve as a visual where we will type in X's in each cell in the corresponding column and row to show that this has actually happened in real time. When rent has actually come out of my account, when internet has actually come out of my account, or when I have actually got paid, I will put an X to show this has absolutely happened. And then column E, we are going to type in deposits. Pretty self-explanatory. That's anything that's coming into our account, our paycheck, extra money we get on the side, maybe some birthday money as well. Column F is going to be expenses. Also self-explanatory, anything that's coming out, food and entertainment, utilities, rent, etc. Column G. Now column G is going to be where we get into the formula. But before I go any further, I want to set us up here for success by showing you how to change the entire sheet to currency. Because we are working with money, we want our numbers to automatically change to a dollar sign. So what I do is I go to my keyboard here and press Command A. When I press Command A, it selects everything on the sheet at once. As you can see there, I just did it again. It highlighted the entire thing. What we're going to do is go up to the Format tab. Then we will go to the Number tab. And then we will scroll all the way down to where it says Currency. And we're going to click. Now, nothing visibly changed yet because I don't have any numbers inputted. But what that's going to do is change any number that we put into our sheet automatically. It's going to put a dollar sign next to that, okay? So you won't have to do that manually, and it'll save you a lot of time. Now, I also like to use a specific font, point size, and I also like to center all of my texts. However, this is up to you. You can right hand, left hand, center it. You can use a different font. That's not going to affect your budget in any way, but I'm going to go ahead and set this up in the font that I like. So Cambria, 11-point font, and I like to center it. Again, that's just me, totally up to you. So now that we've got all that in place, let's start looking into column G. This column is going to be our formula column. However, in G1, we are going to put our current balance in our set account we're using this budget for. Let's start with our checking account. Now, on average, it is said that most people have about $2,000 in their checking account. However, let's start with $1,500. Now, don't worry. If you don't have $1,500 and you have maybe $10, keep watching. This will still work for you, okay? So let's go down to G2. Now, it's important to remember that the formula does not start in cell G1. It starts in cell G2. The reason being is because we need a starting number in G1 so that something is contingent upon that number in the formula. Okay, I'll explain a little more here, but let's go into our formula. Now, how we insert a formula in Google Sheets is we click on the cell in which we want the formula to hold, and that will be G2. Then we'll go up to Insert, and then we'll go down to Function. Then we're going to go all the way up to where it says Sum, okay? Now, follow these next steps, and I will explain them clearly. What I'm going to be typing in is G1 plus E2 minus F2, and then press Enter. And automatically, our formula is entered in there. Now, you may be going, what in the world did you just do? What are those numbers? What is all that alphanumeric stuff? What is that? Let me explain it. So you can see here, I've highlighted the formula up there. Now, let's start with G1 plus E2. Well, remember, G1 is the cell that holds our current balance in our checking account. So if you're just starting the sheet out, that is whatever is in your checking account. For example, we have $1,500. So the formula says G1 plus E2. What's E2? Well, that's going to be our first deposit. Remember, that's anything going in to that $1,500 number. So I'm telling the formula that anything I enter into cell E2 will automatically add to the number in G1. For example, if I get paid $200 for a gig and press enter, we can see the number automatically changes over here in cell G2 to $1,700. Now, I'm going to press Command Z and undo what I just did and explain the expenses. If we go to the formula here, we see G1 minus F2. Now, pretty self-explanatory, just do the opposite. So whatever we put in cell F2 will now take away from the balance we have in G1. So let's go to F2. Let's say I had to pay a bill. Let's say a phone bill, $130. We can see now in G2, our number goes from $1,500 to $1,370. Okay, so let's stop right there and say this is simply the formula. Okay, this is the formula we're going to work from. This is how it works. If you have any questions, just slow this video down and review. Now, I want to open up a separate sheet. So I will go down to the plus button and I'm going to right click where it says sheet 2, which was just created, and rename that calculator. Now, calculator is going to serve as a way to show us what we can afford. But before I get into that, I looked up some averages online. The average cost of utilities, the average cost of rent in the United States. Now, this may vary depending on where you live, but I'll just give you the averages that I found. So the average cost of rent that I found was $1,650. Seems just a little high. Maybe if you're living by yourself, you can move these numbers around. You may pay differently. Average cost of electric is $110 a month. Average cost of gas, now this is not gas in your car, but gas that you're paying from your living quarters, $65 a month. Average cost of sewage and water, you're looking at $55 a month. Average cost of subscriptions, $86 a month. Average cost of a car payment, $330 a month. Again, to me, car payment there's a little high, but if you put a bigger down payment on a car, you may be paying less. Average cost of a phone bill, $130 a month. Depends on how many lines you have on that phone. Depends on what type of deal or plan you may have or who you go through. That may be more or less. Average cost of gas, just for one person, about $50 a week, which comes out to $200 a month. Would probably be more, of course, if you have combined accounts with you and your spouse and you both drive separate cars. Average cost of groceries, $100 a week. So you're looking at about $400 a month. Average cost of car insurance, $167 a month. Now, guys, that totals to a total of $3,593 that you're spending in 1 month. That does not include anything you put away maybe for savings. That does not include anything you put away maybe for an emergency fund. And we'll get into that here in the calculator. So in the calculator, we've created a new sheet. And what I want to do is start with what the average income for a single adult in the United States is, and that is roughly about $40,000. Now, that is $40,000 in gross, which means that's $40,000 before taxes, which also means you don't take all that money home with you. So I know here in the state of Indiana, roughly, if somebody told me that my job would pay $40,000 salary a year, I would really only take home $32,000 a year. And so what I want to do in this calculator is show you exactly what you can afford, okay? According to the averages that I've set here, you will have to do this and write down your own expenses, your own averages on what you pay. So this first cell here is going to be B2. And in there, that is going to be our salary. So $40,000, but I'm only going to get paid $32,000 after taxes. So I'm typing $32,000 in there. And again, let's go ahead while we're at it and just press Command A, go to Format. This is good practice. Go to Number, go down to Currency. You can see there it changed that number to a $. Now we're going to start our expenses, okay? So we said that rent was going to be $1,650 a month. So I'm going to flip the screen here and go to my calculator and type in 1650 times 12 for the entire year. That is $19,800 just in rent, okay? So we're going to put a negative sign showing that this is subtracting from the $32,000 for the year. Now, let's look at the next one. That is $110 a month for electric. Let's do 110 times 12. We're looking at $1,320 for electric. Now let's go to gas, $65 a month. 65 times 12. That is $780 a year. Let's go to water and sewage. That's $55 a month times 12. That's $660 a year. Now let's go to subscriptions. $86 a month. 86 times 12 is $1,032 a year in subscriptions. Car payment, $330 a month. Times 12 for the year, you're looking at $3,960 for the year. And our phone bill, $130 a month times 12. You're looking at $1,560 for the year in your phone bill. And we've only got a couple more to go here. Average cost of gas for your car, $200 a month. 200 times 12, $2,400 for the year in gas. That can vary if you travel a lot or go to different conferences and such. Average cost of groceries, $400 a month. Times that by 12, and you're looking at $4,800 for the year in groceries. And lastly, cost of car insurance. Guys, I'm just hitting the major ones here, okay? I'm not even getting into ties. I'm not getting into food and entertainment, extra spending money, savings, emergency fund. So this is just the basics here. You're looking at $2,004 for your car insurance. All right, guys. So now that we have all of our expenses there, let me just go ahead and write all of the payees in the column here. So we've got rent, we've got electric, gas, water, subscription, car payment, phone bill, gas for our car, groceries, and then lastly, we have car insurance. All right. So I'm also going to indicate that the $32,000 up there is pay, just as a reference to help me. And we can see now here that we have all of our expenses and then we have that up next to our pay. Now, I'm going to show you a formula here. I want you to click on cell B13, or if you have multiple rows, more than 12 or 13, do that in the empty cell below that B column, as you can see here on my screen. We're going to go to insert. We're going to go to function and then sum again, just like we did before. However, this time our formula is going to be a little bit different. So we're going to start with the row or the cell that our first number is in. Looks like our first number is in cell B2. So B2, and then we're going to type a colon sign and go to the last cell of the last number. That is cell B12. So you may be asking, what am I doing here? What I'm doing is creating a formula in which this will stack my income next to my expenses and to see if my budget can handle all of my expenses at my current rate of income. So let me press enter. And there we go. We can see a number auto-generated for us. That is negative 6,316. Wow. So from my studies, you're bringing home on average $32,000 at all of these average expenses of rent, $1,650 a month, so on and so forth. And it looks to me like you would average negative $6,316 for the year. Wow. You can make more money, or you can spend less, or you can do both. It's totally up to you. But we can see here that at this current rate of expense and our current rate of income, we're not going to make it for the year. And we're going to be like the guys that wake up on Saturday morning looking at our checking account going, how am I negative 300 today? Because we're forgetting about all the things we have to pay. And on top of that, we may be spending more than we should. For example, if you're a single adult, do you really need an apartment at $1,650 a month? Maybe that's hard for where you live. Maybe states like California or New York, I don't know. But maybe you could look for something a little cheaper, $1,100, $1,000. So we could spend less and we could also make more. So let's play around with some numbers here. Instead of making $32,000, let's say we take home $36,000. So we're just jumping there, $4,000. And instead of spending $1,650 a month on rent, let's say we spend $1,100 a month on rent. So let's go back to the calculator. There we can see for the whole year, instead of spending $19,800, we're going to spend $13,200 on rent. So let me go ahead and change that and press enter. Now, as you can see there, guys, that number went from negative 6,000 to a positive 4,284. Look at that. We actually just decreased our rent by $550, and we are making only $4,000 more a year. And as you can see there, we are positive 4,284 for the year. It only takes a minor change, guys. When it comes to managing your personal finances, it doesn't take you making six figures. It doesn't take you making $10,000, $20,000 more than where you're at in order to afford things that you feel are nice. It's about managing your money. So let's go back to our sheet and start building this out. I want to start with date. Now, typically rent comes out on the 1st of every month. So let's go ahead and type in January 1st, 2024. And remember, rent will be put in the B column where it says payee. So I'm going to make this number 1,100 in our expenses column. We're starting with 1,500. We're paying that rent of 1,100 on the 1st. Now, typically, our water and sewage is going to be coming out also on the 1st. Typically, that's going to come out along with our rent. Let's go ahead and put water, our expense being at $55 a month. And let's keep going here, guys. Let's say we have a Paramount Plus not prescription, but subscription. I work for a doctor's office, so you have to excuse that. The 4th, 2024. And I can't believe it, guys. We're already coming up on 2024, which I pray this helps you, because we're coming up just here in a little bit on 2024, and you can start the year fresh. This can be a part of your resolution. January 4th, let's say that is when our Paramount Plus subscription comes out, and I believe that is around $10.99 a month. Let's look at some other things. What about our phone bill? Our phone bill, let's say it comes out on the 10th. Payee phone bill, $130 a month. Guys, what you're going to want to do is go get a sheet of paper and a pencil or a pen and write down all of your expenses. Start making a list of all the subscriptions you subscribe to, of all your expenses. Make a huge list, and make a list of all your fixed income and plug this into the budget here. So I'm not going to do every expense, but this is just a few of the major expenses here. But let's make sure we put in our pay. So the cool thing about Google Sheets is when you type in a date, if you double click on that date, it will automatically bring up a calendar. So let's say we get paid on every other Thursday. Okay. So I'm just going to type in a random day here. I'm going to double click on the day, and it looks like the first Thursday of January 2024 is the 4th. And the next Thursday bi-weekly is the 18th. Awesome. Now, if we want to auto-generate this date for the entire month, Google Sheets has a rule that you only have to type in 2 dates corresponding to the said date that you want to put on there, or the said rule. You want to press command on the first date. While holding down the command button, press on the second date, and then click and drag. Now, it is now auto-generating every other Thursday for the entire year. We're only doing January for now, so I'm going to delete the excess there. Let me go ahead and type in paycheck. And let's go back to our calculator and do some math. We said our take home is $36,000 a year. I'm going to divide that up by 52 weeks in a year, and then times that by 2 to make up for our biweekly paycheck. it looks like that number is going to be around $1,384. So I'm going to go to the E column. Remember, this will be a deposit and not an expense. So make sure you put it in the right column there at $1,384. Now, another cool thing about Google Sheets is you can just click and drag and it'll auto-generate for you. So you don't have to manually put that in for both row 6 and row 7 here. So I'm going to click on 1384 here, click and drag. And boom, we can see there that was auto-generated for us. Now, we're missing the biggest piece of this, and that is the G column is not pulled all the way through. So let's go to G2 here, cell G2, which is going to be, remember, the cell that holds the first formula, okay? There is no formula in G1. That's important to remember, and something I'll get into in just a second. So click G2, grab that little blue button there, and drag all the way down, and I want you to watch what happens. Boom. You can see now that this formula is acting as a calculator and a way for us to track exactly how our checking account is fluctuating. Okay, we started with 1,500. We told the formula that anything we put in F2 is going to take away, so we're down to $400 now, as you can see there in G2. To put it plainly, this is a tracker of all your expenses and your income. So we had to pay our water bill on the same day, so it brought us down to $345. And then again, Paramount Plus on the 4th at $10.99, which brought us down to $334.01. I could keep going on and on here, and we can see exactly how everything fluctuates, okay? Now, this is so powerful because you can do this for every expense that you have, and you can do this for the entire year. And I want to show you how to do that, okay? But before we move forward, I want you to notice something that you may not have caught at first. As you can see, I've highlighted cell A4, and let's go to A5. So we've gone from January 4th to January 10th, and then again, January 4th. So as we can see here, our dates are out of order. But again, Google Sheets has a way where you can actually resort this appropriately in chronological order. So you don't have to do this manually and spend a bunch of time on this. So I'll show you how to do that right now. We're going to take from the bottom left and we're going to click and drag. And I want to stop right here and say, when you do this, it is very important that you do not select row 1 at all. Again, because there is no formula in row 1, it starts in row 2. So if you select row 1, it's going to mess up the entire formula for the entire sheet. In fact, you may want to highlight all of row 1 and color code it to give you a visual that this is not something that you want to select when sorting your sheet. So let's select everything but row 1. We're going to go up to data. Then we're going to go to sort range. And then we're going to sort range by column A. Well, what's column A? That's our dates. So when we press this, it will automatically put everything in chronological order. So watch as I hit this. And as you can see there, guys, look at rows 4, 5, 6, and 7, where it was the 4th, the 10th, and then the 4th again. Now everything is in order for us. Why is that important? That's important because if you do not have your dates in appropriate order chronologically, it will mess with everything here on the far right-hand side in your G column. These will not be appropriate live numbers because everything will be out of sorts. So you need to make sure as you're checking your sheet that all dates are in their appropriate chronological order, okay? So we don't want to just do this for January. Let's do this for the entire year. But you may say, oh my goodness, that's going to take me like 5 or 6 hours. Well, once again, Google Sheets gives us a way where we can do this real easy. Okay, so let's start with rent. We said rent comes out on the 1st of every month. So we've already done January. Let's just do the rest of the year. So let's type in 2/1/2024 and then 3/1/2024. Now again, Google Sheets has a rule that if you select or type in 2 dates, that all you have to do is hit Command, select those 2 dates, and then it will auto-generate for you. Let me put it plainly here for you and simplify it. So I've typed in February 1st and March 1st just to get us started and to tell this program that I want to auto-generate the 1st of every month all the way through December. So I'm going to select February 1st, hold down the Command key, press March 1st while still holding the Command key, and then what I'll do is let go of the Command key, And then I will drag all the way down until we reach December 1st. Okay. Look at that, guys. So easy. Google Sheets makes it easy. This is why I recommend it. So this is going to be our rent. Once again, click, drag, $1,100 a month. And then we're going to click and then drag. And let's just do this for the next few expenses here. Our water at $55 a month. Once again, 2/1/2024, 3/1/2024. This is water, and it's $55 a month. I'm going to click 2/1, hold the command key, click 3/1, let go of the command key, and then click and drag. And it auto-generated again the first of every month. I've already typed in water, so I'm going to click and drag. It will auto-generate. I'm going to click and drag 55, which will also auto-generate. Let's look at our other expenses. Paramount Plus comes out on the 4th of every month at $10.99. So 2/4/2024, 3/4/2024, and I hope doing this multiple times for you guys will help you understand exactly how to do this. I know it can seem complicating at first, but I hope doing this several times for you will simplify the process. So 2/4 and 3/4 I've put in there for Paramount Plus. So clicking 2/4 command, 3/4, and then click and drag all the way to December there. Paramount Plus, good. And then click and drag, and then we're at $10.99, and then click and drag. All right, guys, we've put in some of our expenses. Let's not forget about our deposits as well, okay? It looks like we're getting paid every other Thursday. We've already put in those Thursdays for January, so let's go ahead and do the rest of the year. It looks like the next Thursday is going to be February 1st, and then let's see what goes after that. It looks like February 15th. So let's go ahead and plug that in there. So 2/1/2024, and then 2/15/2024. All right. Now, remember the rule in Google Sheets is type in 2 dates and then it will auto-generate for as long as you want to. So selecting 2/1, pressing command, holding command down, and then also pressing 2/15. Now I can release the command button. You can hold on to it. I don't think it really matters, but I release the command button at that point when both are highlighted. Then I'll take and drag this down. And as you can see there, I'm going to delete some of the excess there. Every other Thursday was auto-generated for us in the year 2024. Remember, this is for our paycheck, so I'm going to go ahead and write that, and then auto-generate for that. And then also, our paycheck is $13.84 bi-weekly. So I'm also going to be typing that in. Remember, this is a deposit, not an expense. So this is going to go in column E, not column F. Click and drag. All right. So if you guys remember, we need to make this chronologically correct. So we're going to sort the entire sheet. So let's go ahead and select everything, and remember, we're not selecting row 1. There's no formula, so that's why we color coded that to give us a reminder there. So data, sort range, and then sort range by column A. Again, we're doing this because we've added some dates and our dates are all out of order, and so we want to make sure they're in the correct order. So there we go, sort by A, and as you can see here, everything is sorted correctly. So what we're going to do is click on G2, which is the first cell with the first formula. We're going to drag that all the way down so we pull that through. And there you have it, guys. You can do this for every expense and every fixed income that you have. And you can do this for the entire year. I just did a few expenses here. I didn't even hit tithes. I didn't even hit general savings. I did not hit emergency fund. Those are very important things as well. But I just want to remind you, there are 2 things that you can do. You can make more money, or you can spend less, or you can do both. Preferably do both if you can. And as you can see here, this is our checking account which fluctuates up and down throughout the year. And let me just stop and say, this is why it's so powerful, because if you plug in all of your expenses and all of your paychecks and your income in here, you can do this for the entire year, and you can be in February looking down the road to October, and you can see in this right-hand column, in that G column, that, man, I get a little thin in October. I go down to $200 in my checking account, okay? And that's powerful, because you can look down the road and you can prepare for that, but you'll never be able to prepare if you don't have something like this. Now, the method I'm showing you, it's not everything. You may have your own way of doing it, but I believe that this is a powerful tool that you can use, like I said at the beginning of this video, to manage your finances, but not just manage them, but also see what you can afford and to see where you may go low throughout the year. There are times where I've plugged in certain numbers to my budget, and if I did not constrain some of my spending, or if I did not constrain some of what I'm putting away for a trip or for emergency fund or whatever, then I'm getting really low. I'm getting down sometimes to $100 in my bank account when I did this a year ago. And so I had to learn how to put everything in correctly so that it makes sense for my budget, okay? Now, financial experts say that in your checking account, you want to have at least a time and a half of your monthly income plus a 30% buffer, okay? Now, whether that's everything or not, whether that's correct 100%, I'm not sure. That's just what they say. And I think that's pretty reasonable. So you have to know what you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable with only having $100 in your checking account at one time, that's fine. That's not something I'm comfortable with. And I will say this, that you can look down a few months down the road on this budget, and it may say $100 in October or September, and you're in February. But everything is always subject to change, okay? You may take some days off and not get paid as much. And if you change that number, just even one number in this sheet, it's going to change every number after that, okay? So just remember that this is reality, okay? When you change just one number, the reality is you're not going to bring in as much as you would have according to what you thought, okay? So that's what that column C is for. So if you don't get your 40 hours in for the week and you only get 30, you're not going to get paid as much as you thought you'd get paid. And when you go back and plug that number in, it's going to be less. It's going to affect everything on that right-hand side. Actually, let me demonstrate that for you real quick. Let's say that our paycheck on February 15th, we didn't work our full 40 hours, and let's say we only got paid $1,000. Now, before I click enter, I want you to pay attention to the very right-hand column, column G, and I'll press enter right now. As you can see, everything just dropped a couple $100, okay? $384, and that's going to affect every number corresponding all the way through the year, okay? So I say that to say this: have a buffer in your cash flow. This is what I call cash flow here, column G. That is the current amount you have in your checking account at once, okay? My advice to you is to have a number in there that doesn't average something low like $100, because you just never know, okay? Especially if you don't have an emergency fund built up at this point. Maybe you're just starting to budget. Maybe you don't have $1,500 in your account. Maybe you only have 10. That's okay. Still, create this budget, make a plan, do something, do more than what you may be doing right now. And also, please, I'm going to switch over my screen here to the calculator. Please create this calculator as well, and look back at this. Change the numbers. If you're looking at renting an apartment, go ahead and create this calculator. Figure out how much you're making a year and plug all these numbers and to see what you can afford, okay? Because there's nothing worse than living paycheck to paycheck. There's nothing worse than waking up and saying, I'm not really sure where my money's going, and I'm not sure when it's coming out. That's not how you want to live, guys. Well, that's it for today, guys. I'm no financial expert. I'm no expert even on Google Sheets, but what I do believe is in this method. And I believe that if you use and apply this method, that it will greatly transform your personal finances. In fact, when you do this, I want you to reach out to me and tell me how it worked for you. I have an Instagram and a Facebook account at Nick Egler. And if you would please, when you do this with you or your spouse or whoever, when you do this, please reach out to me if you have any questions. But I also want to hear testimonials. I want to hear if this is working for you. I want to hear if this is something, a realization you may have come to, okay? So thank you guys for listening, and God bless.
Already it's a classic. classic. If I drop any day, it's a classic. Any wave that I'm on, it's a classic. Hey, you heard that? Classic, classic, classic.